Hey guys, so today we're gonna be making Coo Coo and I'm pairing it with some stewed fish. For the fish, I'm using two different types of fish. I'm gonna be using salmon steaks and also some snapper. Alright, so let's get started. Alright guys, so I'm starting off by seasoning my fish first. So here I have some really huge salmon steaks. Don't know why they're that big, but okay, with some snapper. And I'm gonna keep it simple for seasoning them today. You could season the fish too, however you prefer to season the fish. Use your favorite blend of seasonings. Here I'm using this fish seasoning, and also I'm gonna add some salt and black pepper with that, and I'm gonna season both sides of the fish, mix it really well so that each piece of the fish is seasoned perfectly. So once I season the fish, I'm gonna cover it and set it aside, and then I'm gonna get started on making the Coo Coo. So I'm placing a large pot over medium high heat, and I added some water in there. To the water I'm gonna add some coconut milk. Okay, so I'm adding about 1 can of coconut milk. I've chopped up some veggies that I'm gonna put in the Coo Coo. So what I'm using today is okra. I love okra in the Coo Coo. It tastes so good. If you don't like it, you can omit whatever you don't like. Okay, so I've sliced up some okra. I also have some pimento peppers diced finely, some minced garlic and onion diced finely as well, and I'm gonna add that in my pot with the coconut milk and water, and I'm gonna cover the pot, let it come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm gonna turn the heat down to about medium and let that cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. You want the okra to soften. Okay guys, so while that's cooking, in a separate bowl I'm gonna add some cornmeal. So this is the cornmeal I'm using. So I'm adding 2 cups of cornmeal in the bowl, and with that I'm gonna mix in some water, and then I'm using a fork to combine the cornmeal and the water together. This is gonna prevent the cornmeal from making lumps when we add it in the pot. Okay, and as for how much water I added, you guys, I basically added water until the cornmeal was mixed really well and it wasn't thick. You don't want the cornmeal to be thick. You want it to be sort of runny like you see here. So now I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and a little bit of black pepper into the water that's been boiling with the okra and the veggies, just to give it some more flavor. And then I'm gonna take the cornmeal that I just mixed with the water, give it another stir, and I'm gonna pour that into the boiling pot of water and veggies. Okay, and then I'm gonna use my pot spoon. As soon as you add the cornmeal into the pot, you're gonna start stirring it. I have my pot now on medium low heat. Okay, and I'm gonna use my pot spoon, and you're just gonna keep stirring that, you guys. Just gonna keep stirring and stirring until it thickens. You'll notice really quickly that it's gonna start thickening on you, but you gotta constantly stir it, because if you don't, especially in the beginning, it's gonna start forming lumps on you, and you don't want lumps in the Coo Coo. Okay, so I let this cook for about 25 minutes while continuously stirring, and when it started getting a little thick, I added in some butter. You could even add the butter right before you add the cornmeal in the pot. Okay, the butter adds a little bit more flavor. I used salted butter. So yeah, you guys, I just kept stirring it for about 25 minutes, and you want the cornmeal to also cook, so that's why you have to cook it for about 25 to 30 minutes or so. And at the end of that, it's gonna be thick, and what you're gonna do next is turn off the stove and get the dish that you're gonna put it in. Get a serving bowl or a dish and pour the Coo Coo into it and spread it out evenly, and then you can leave it, let it set that way, and then to serve it we'll slice it up later. The last thing you can do is rub some butter on top of the Coo Coo after you pour it into the dish to set. That'll give the top a nice shine and make it soft, okay? So I'm gonna leave that, let it set for about 15 minutes or so, and while it's doing that, we're gonna start cooking the stew fish. All right, so the first thing is to fry up the fish, so let's get started with that. So in this plate I have some flour, and to the flour I added some of the fish seasoning that I used to season the fish. You could also add a little bit of salt and black pepper in the flour if you'd like. Mix it into the flour, and I'm going to be using this to coat my fish. So like I said, I'm frying up some salmon steak and some snapper. But you guys, the salmon was so good that I should have just bought more salmon and fried that up. It was delicious. Okay, so you're gonna take the seasoned pieces of fish and you're gonna dredge the fish with the flour mixture. Make sure both sides of the fish is fully coated into the flour. All right, and then you're going to place a frying pan over medium high heat. Add in some oil. Once the oil gets nice and hot, you're going to add the fish into the pot and you're going to fry them up until they're nice and crispy on that first side and golden brown, and then flip it to the other side to finish cooking it. And I fried my fish for about 6 minutes on each side. It depends on how big your cut of fish is. As you can see, the salmon was way bigger than the snapper. Okay, so yeah, and I fried it on like a medium heat, and then once they're finished frying, you're gonna remove it from the oil, place it on a plate lined with paper towel so the extra oil can drip. And then now I'm gonna make the delicious stew for the fish. So place a pot over medium heat and I'm gonna add in some butter. To that I'm gonna add some pimento peppers that I diced up, some minced garlic, and some diced onions. I also added a little bit of scallions chopped up, okay, and I sauteed that, let it cook for about 3 minutes or so. Let those veggies soften and start to caramelize just a little bit. Next I'm gonna add in some sliced okra. I sliced the okra into huge chunks, and some sliced bell peppers and sliced carrots. All right, so the carrots, I just cut them out diagonally basically, and then I'm gonna let that cook for about 2 to 3 more minutes with the veggies that's already in the pot. So once that cooked down a little, I'm gonna add in some flour. Mix the flour in with the veggies in the pot and let that cook for about 2 minutes so that the flour can cook out a little. And next I'm gonna add some water into my pot. So I'm adding some water, a little bit of ketchup, and I'm gonna season up this sauce a little bit with the same fish seasoning that I used to season the fish. Okay, so you could taste the sauce and add like onion powder, garlic powder in here, black pepper, maybe a little bit of salt. Taste it and add what you need into the sauce. All right, so after I add all of those, I'm gonna use the pasta spoon and give everything a mix. You want to mix the flour that we had added and the ketchup really well into everything else until it's well blended, and you're gonna let that simmer and let it cook for about 5 minutes so that the sauce can thicken. All right, and while it's coming to a simmer, I added back in pieces of cooked fried fish, and as you can see, the sauce is starting to thicken up a little. And at this point, you guys, you're gonna let the sauce thicken up as much as you'd like it to thicken, and also keep in mind how you would like the fish to be. So for me, I like my fish to be a little more on the dry, crispy side, meaning not too wet with the gravy. So when I add it into the pot, I only leave it, let it simmer for about 2 minutes at most. When I do that, it's still gonna be stewed and simmered with the sauce, but it's still gonna be a little bit crispy and more on the dry side. Hopefully I'm making sense here and you guys understand what I'm saying. But yeah, so after that, you guys, that's basically it for the stewed fish recipe. Pretty simple. Now if you like, you'll notice that I added some soy sauce, so you could add that to make the gravy a little bit darker in color. I didn't add too much in mine because I prefer mine to be like the way you see it here. Okay, so sometimes I don't even add the soy sauce, so it's totally up to you, and you can add more than I recommended to make it more darker. And yeah, but that is it, you guys, for my stew fish recipe. Pretty simple and absolutely delicious. So now, you guys, I'm gonna cut the Coo Coo and I'm gonna make myself a plate. All right, so you could use a knife or a spatula, whatever you want to use. Slice the Coo Coo like you see me doing, or however you prefer, and place it on the plate. I add my fish, I add some gravy and veggies from the stewed fish, and today I paired the Coo Coo and stewed fish with some callaloo and some boiled yellow plantains on the side. So delicious. I love this dish. All right, it's so comforting. But that is it for today's recipe, you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.